We are very excited about tonight's show and all the things we're going to be talking about because 2024 has been a little bit of a bleep show with the SBA, defaults, Treasury. So let's get into it with some of the top questions that we
Are you rolling video?
Yes. This was no. Yes, you are interrupting me. Yes, you are.
Ask one.
What?
One question.
Okay.
You remember March 18th, 2020?
Yes.
When our commercial financing brokerage business went poof?
Yeah.
Do you remember the conversation we had about reputation and free advice?
Yes, you had said that the sharks and scammers were going to come out of the woodwork, and we wanted to be available to at least be a sounding board in the beginning as we were learning about the ins and outs of this program, and also provide some advice to people who aren't used to applying for business financing and what the process entails and how...
I'm going to interrupt you.
Again?
So what did we do during the pandemic? Not everybody knows what we did.
What do you mean what we did? We went onto YouTube and we started doing videos.
Right.
We did these fun advancing with financing videos. They were step-by-step instructions on how to apply to get approved for the loan.
Totally goofy.
Yeah.
In most cases.
Is there anything else? Can we get back to the show?
But didn't we process loans?
Yeah, hundreds to the tune of...
I mean, I didn't write this down as a script because I know how you are with written scripts.
We quantified about $70 million in disaster funding to help businesses survive the lockdown, and about what we think is about $30 million of people that commented on our videos about having success after watching our videos.
And then when the program ended, what did we do? Asking for a friend. Yeah.
When the program ended, we took a break.
And then?
And then we had to get back to work because the SBA started screwing shit up again.
This has been a real pleasure speaking with you at this time, Linda Ray. I was kind of hoping she'd be a little more specific. Maybe I'll just sit outside here and just hang out. Oh.
Thank you.
So, this is gonna be... Oh, this is gonna be good. These two are so funny. I don't know, that Trevor guy. I mean, he's a bit of an arrogant guy, but guy knows his stuff. And not for nothing, that Linda Ray, she's hot. I think it's gonna be a good show. Oh, hi. Just as a quick reminder before the live broadcast starts, if you have a question, what you want to do is two things. You want to type your question in one comment box, like one, not multiple. Because these two, Trevor's old. He won't be able to read if you break it up into multiple comment boxes. So one comment box. And be very specific. You know, like the directions for popping this popcorn was very, very specific. And it turned out good. Because I follow instructions. Oh, I'm sorry. There will be breaks, you know, like intermission stuff. So, you know, if you gotta go pop popcorn, refill your beverage, or, you know, make a potty call, you'll have time. These two, they freaking think of everything. It's kind of cool. Are you ready for the live broadcast? Because here it comes. You hear these two? Oh, there we go. See you later. We have a lot of, look at our notes. We have such a packed show, and there are a lot of treats we're going to be sharing, a lot of specials, and a guest that is going to be joining us live. He will be with us to answer questions related to securing business financing. If you have an EIDL loan, it's just going to be a shorter segment, but we've already done a video with him. His name is Carlos, and we're very excited to welcome him. So we don't know when that will happen, but Trevor has... I do. I know you do. Let's put our hands together. Wasn't that a great introduction by Linda Ray? She edited... Hold on, applause. Okay, we need to have applause for Linda. All of you should be clapping your hands in the back.
Results are the only thing working.
That's my motto.
And this is our merch. We won't be promoting merch because we got too much other stuff to promote.
Lisa from Air Force, yo. And
Toshiba.
That motto, Lisa, that's my motto. Results the only thing we're talking about. And Edgar's here, and David DeYoung hiding in the background. Toshiba's here. Hello, Abdul.
William McCarthy.
Well, William, you know what? I think you're great. A round of applause for William. I'm just saying. There we go.
And I do want to say thank you to Lisa for your service. Very much appreciate that.
Skull and Roses Festival was our first question of the evening. Sadly, Skull and Roses, we cannot answer this question. This is a legal question.
Don't leave the show, though.
Don't leave the broadcast. We are not attorneys, so we cannot advise you on bankruptcy. But I can say this to you. Based upon my finding 4 bankruptcy attorneys in various states. One's in Pennsylvania, one is in Georgia, one is in California, and the other one's in Ohio. The one in Ohio, I found her and connected with her on Instagram. The other 3, I found them here on YouTube. All 4 of them have confirmed that the SBA COVID-19 EIDL can, in fact, be included in a discharge bankruptcy proceeding. So you want to consult with your bankruptcy attorney. The advice that we give to folks about bankruptcy is twofold. Number one,
it's not legal advice.
This is not legal advice. Number one is when you are interviewing an attorney to
something in my teeth.
Are you legit doing that? Are you legit?
It can't be there the whole night.
Are you going to start picking your nose?
No, I just want to make
my God.
I just want to make sure.
This is why God created off camera, which is the couch.
Well, good thing we have intermissions. I'll fix that straight away.
Okay, so when you're interviewing your attorney to represent your bankruptcy, you want to make sure you ask the question, hey, attorney, have you actually had experience with not the SBA, with not the EIDL, with not naturalization, specifically, Mr. or Ms. Attorney, do you have experience with the COVID-19 EIDL program when filing a bankruptcy? That's a primary question. Based upon what those attorneys said in their videos, and I would invite you to go and search for them here on YouTube, is that they mentioned that the trustee and or the court are definitely going to ask you for books and records. They want to see if there's any money remaining from the EIDL, and they want to see how you spent those funds. So that's about the limit of what we can offer with bankruptcy. I'm sorry, there is one other element. Remember, if your loan is greater than $200,000, you have a personal guarantee component. And again, you want to confer with an attorney, but in my imagination, I would guess that if you are filing a business bankruptcy to discharge a COVID-19 EIDL, you would probably also have to consider a personal bankruptcy because of the personal guarantee component. And so I hope that helps. And to be clear, we include all of this information I just gave you and a few more spicy bits in our SBA COVID-19 EIDL guidebook.
Spicy bits.
Okay.
Bow.
Let's see. What other questions?
I was told I don't have to do anything tonight except for put any of the intermissions up and not check if any food is in my teeth. So so far, I think I'm winning.
She comes walking out of the bedroom a few minutes ago with the Annie Hall outfit with the tie. And I'm like, wait a minute. So, of course, I had to then go and put on a tie. I haven't worn a tie since probably January of 2020. I think that's the last time we went out networking before our commercial financing business was shut down. We got the call on March 18th, 2020. The vault is closed. We're not lending any money until this thing's over. I said, this thing's over. You have no idea what's coming down the pike. And one of our clients at that time introduced us. What are you doing now?
You're not on cue. You're not on
I know I'm not.
With the discussion points.
Okay. That's not when I said interruption, that wasn't really what I had in mind.
You actually
have
did
a
tell
whole
me.
Interruption script.
You actually did tell me I was in charge of interruptions.
Why? Why do I write the scripts?
You did say I was in charge of interruptions.
There's a whole script. Oh my God. You found the script.
Look, Linda interrupting script.
She's got one job.
It's 8:00 here. It's like my melatonin is slowly seeping into my brain. So
She's got one job.
okay.
Edgar, if I didn't say hi, hello. Chad Eckert, it is great to see you. I hope that the entertainment business is rocking and rolling for you, friend. And yes, this broadcast
it'll be recorded. Yes, it'll be on replay. Uh-huh. Okie dokie.
I don't know if you all can hear on the sensitive microphones, but I'm currently drumming my fingers on the dining room table.
Video will be
okay.
Will be recorded.
So we had some folks submitted questions in advance of the broadcast, including our pal Toshiba Voodoo. So I wanted to kind of touch on those. This is not one of his questions, but I think he may have touched on it. Ineligible use of EIDL funds to pay debts. What debts are permitted and what debts are not? And what to do when in doubt before using EIDL funds to pay business debts. And this person who sent this email to us with these questions actually included some PDFs, which, as Edgar will, and David DeYoung and Chad Eckert, who are our clients, all our clients, will tell you during the pandemic, we don't open PDFs that are attached to emails for security reasons. But apparently these PDFs were copies of the Federal Register with the CARES Act provisos about the program. So the answer to your question about EIDL funds, the purpose of an SBA natural disaster loan, which is the foundation of a COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan, is to provide a small business with working capital for revenue lost as a result of the disaster. Now, with pandemic, it was a very unusual situation, right? Because it's not like a tornado comes to town. Well, I mean, here in Connecticut, just a few weeks ago, we had horrific, what they called training thunderstorms right overhead. It was storming outside the windows. It was really nuts. And in the next town over, Southbury, Connecticut, massive flooding. Small, tiny little creeks, not much wider than this dining room table, exploded. So now FEMA's coming in, which means the SBA will probably be not far behind them to provide natural disaster assistance to small businesses for replacing revenue lost during that finite period. Okay. But the pandemic, right, that was ongoing. And so we saw that the Small Business Administration pivoted a lot, created a lot of modifications to the program, originally 150,000, then increasing it to 500,000, increasing it then to 2 million, allowing businesses to borrow money at very low cost. But again, the purpose of the money, and we got these questions all the time here on these broadcasts during the pandemic and on our free phone calls that we used to offer and from our clients, how can I spend the money? And my background as a mortgage banker with government loans led me to answer in this way. If you had the revenue, what bills would you be paying? You cannot look at the COVID-19 EIDL program funds as a windfall. Oh, cool. And this goes to one of the other questions we got, which was, can I use the remaining EIDL funds to pay off? And this person apparently still has money lying in the bank from 4 years ago. Can I use it to pay off debt that I incurred in my own personal name in 2019? Do I really even need to answer that? Because I think I just explained it. Revenue lost during the period. Now, this other person who sent the Federal Register, this is one of those moments where somebody reads something and interprets it the way that serves their purpose. That was my understanding of how this email came in. I read a Federal Register or the SOP for the SBA and the COVID-19 CARES Act guidelines. And as a loan officer and a loan processor, I have a different perspective. You can use the funds during the pandemic to have serviced debt. Like if you had a loan payment that you were making every month from your normal revenue, well, surely you could have used the COVID-19 EIDL funds to do that as well. you could not use the EIDL funds to pay that debt off in full. SBA, under the new administrator, Isabella Casillas Guzman, then modified that later on, and they came back and they said, okay, if you incurred new debt to keep your business operating during the pandemic, either before you applied for the COVID-19 EIDL program or while you were waiting for that approval or waiting for an increased modification, if you incurred new debt specifically to keep your business afloat, you could use the EIDL funds to pay off those types of debts in full. Because Guzman, in her wisdom, and the other administrators of the SBA recognized that a lot of businesses in the early days didn't think they needed the SBA's assistance, and then until they did. And
we saw that a lot.
Before they applied, before they maybe even knew about the program, they took those horrible merchant cash advance loans and other types of disgusting criminal level debt.
Which is why Carlos is going to be, this is going to be a great segment coming up. Although I do want to interrupt you.
I know, you can interrupt me.
Thank you.
Because I'm rambling anyway. Hi, Chad Eckert again.
I do want to say, and this is the first time I'm saying this, as a previously licensed professional, my insurance license just non-renewed. I did it voluntarily for the first time after 25 years. I non-renewed my insurance license. But this is not any insurance advice. This is sound business operational advice. When it comes to the use of funds, please make sure you're documenting. Take the time, set up a system to document the expenses, expenditures, your process, your meetings. If you have a team or staff or shareholders or whatever, please document it so you have a written record to substantiate.
All right, I'm going to interrupt you now.
Okay.
There's a whole chapter in our SBA COVID-19 EIDL guidebook about books and records, about documenting how you spent the funds. My perspective, my attitude, and this is the advice I used to give to folks, look, if you made reasonable decisions about how to use the funds because you couldn't find the guidance either by calling the SBA or, wherever, if you used what's called the business judgment rule, what I told people to do was document the living heck out of it.
Yeah.
Put records, when you have your corporate meetings, even if you're a sole member LLC, have a meeting with yourself, put minutes into your file, document it, create a memo. This is the decision we made today to use the funds in this way, and back it up with the receipts and invoices and bank accounts, bank statements, and do it now. I mean, when I say now, I meant in 21 and 22.
Not now.
And if you haven't done it yet, do it now, because if you do face a situation in the future where somebody's requesting books and records, 6 or 7 years from now, remember, there's still 26 and 27 years left on these loans for folks who got them. Who knows? And if you've read the loan agreement, it basically says the SBA has the right to ask for those books and records almost any time.
Yeah.
Lisa Air Force asking about bridge loans.
Yeah. Is it time? What time? How far are we? We're already 18 minutes in. Should we bring Carlos on?
No, not yet. But I think what Lisa's asking about is using the EIDL funds to pay bridge loans. Bridge loans, yes. If you took that debt specifically during the pandemic for the purpose of keeping your business operating, okay, and you later got a COVID-19 EIDL, either you got the loan originally or you got an increase that gave you sufficient funds to pay that type of debt off, the SBA said that was allowable. Hello, Power. Hey, Cookie. Oh, my heavens.
I said that. You weren't paying attention to me.
Wait, Cookie, when you say hair, I mean, you're talking to me, correct?
No, she's talking to me. Thank you.
We have the audio. The guide is not yet formatted for audio.
Who's asking for audio?
Cookie is.
Oh,
but
Cookie.
That is on the way.
Cookie.
We got big plans. So
I love you because that was my 2025. That's my 2025 goal. So you were reading my mind, sister.
We have big plans for the SBA COVID-19 EIDL guidebook. which you will have the opportunity to purchase tonight. Linda's going to tell you about that. A couple of other guidebooks are going to be presented to you for purchase this evening as well. It's where we're going with our business. We currently are providing consulting services, and a lot of the folks you're hearing us say hi to are former clients that we assisted during the pandemic, but we're phasing that out. I'm going to be writing science fiction novels about robots.
Yeah. So we're going to have a couple of special offers that have never been extended before. These are first time ever types of offers to have access to Trevor's brain and our intelligence that we've been gathering for almost 5 years now. It feels like it's coming up. It's 4.5 years. And we have all of our processes are documented. So we have been collating those to share with the masses of people. And one of the things about, this is not a sexy thing. Like, I know people would rather go out and buy electronics or travel, or I don't even know, even watch ASMR videos, whatever. But the thing is, what we're providing has remedies. It remedies stress, it remedies confusion, and it helps to streamline so that you can get to the root of the miscommunication that might be happening between you and the SBA. Listen, we've talked about the SBA. Sometimes we say really good things and sometimes we don't, but it's also because business owners may not have an understanding of how to approach a certain type of situation, especially with a bureaucratic agency. This book gives you how to do that. It gives you insights and how Trevor for 30 years was a loan officer. So yes, is it not on your Christmas list? We already know that, but it will be available. And tonight we're going to have a special offer.
There are no chapters about my previous life as a loan officer.
Yes, there is.
There is?
Well, I should say you do reference it multiple times on how to approach communication and
there's no
paperwork.
chapter talking about driving in
organizing.
16-degree weather to the Bronx in January to write a refinance application at 9:30 at night at somebody's kitchen table. And the guy keeps telling me, because he was a CPA, how he didn't really need it. And I just kept looking around the house and going, when are you going to get around to painting and plastering and that big hole in the ceiling and the roof and the, okay.
All right, so you're supposed to be managing the comments, and
I'm going there
because your eyes are better.
Antonio, thank you. So Antonio mentioned in his comment just now PPP. I do want to touch on PPP briefly, and Joshua, I see your question, and I will answer that briefly in a moment. But let's talk about the Paycheck Protection Program loans. Last year in August of 2023, September of 2023, the SBA's Office of Inspector General released a disgraceful report. In my opinion, personally and professionally, a completely misinformed report that doesn't really understand the landscape of what you folks are going through out here in the small business arena. And the OIG made a lot of assumptions about what he and his team considered defaulting loans that I found to be completely incorrect. And one of those bad assessments, in my opinion, was he stated in the report that one characteristic that proves that a PPP loan was obtained fraudulently is the fact that the small business has not applied for forgiveness. Well, clearly this, and I'm not going to mention his name on tonight's broadcast, but if you want to, I've spoken about him extensively in previous videos. They're here on our channel, on our playlist. You can find them. As recently as last week, we have a client that we're working with. It's a restaurant group in LA. We're working on getting them. Actually, it's done. I got them approved. 7 businesses. I got them all approved for hardship accommodation.
Yes.
And now next is he's working on preparing the business for sale. So we're going to assist him with that aspect. And I'll be speaking to some of my new friends at SBA in the change of ownership and subordination departments about those transactions. But when he and I did a teleconference and we looked at his My SBA portal, I noticed he had a PPP forgiveness loan that showed as in delinquent for payments. So we inquired about that, and he told me that he had only gotten something like 80% forgiveness. And so came back, and we're helping him to look at that. The lender completely just ruined any chances for him to get 100% forgiveness, in my opinion. I looked at the paperwork. The lender's communications are bizarre. They're cryptic. They're not plain English. I'm a financing professional. I can't even understand the lender's communications. And this guy's a restaurant owner. But we also encounter lots of other folks who never applied for PPP forgiveness or applied for it and were rejected for PPP forgiveness, or attempted and couldn't understand the PPP forgiveness program because their lender created unnecessary obstacles to their approval of the PPP forgiveness. And what I recommend to you, if you have a PPP loan, if you have not applied for forgiveness, do it tonight. In fact, stop watching me. Go and do it right now. And you do it by going to the SBA website for PPP forgiveness. Just Google it, SBA, and you want to go to sba.gov. It will direct you to the PPP forgiveness portal. You can apply for forgiveness directly through the SBA. In the early days, there was some confusion. Some lenders, especially the big blankety blank lenders who, I'm trying to avoid cursing tonight.
That's fun to watch. The trying part.
This is my face trying not to curse.
We actually have a blueprint. I think it's only $27 on Trevor's process for PPP forgiveness.
So you can purchase that by clicking on the link in the description. It's my primer.
It's not in the description, but it's in the comments now. So there's that.
Sorry about that. I'm used to doing this as a pre-recorded video. So again, the fact that people haven't applied for PPP forgiveness is not at all a characteristic of fraudulent loan. More often than not, in my opinion, it's because the people didn't apply for it. They didn't know how to apply for it. They tried to apply for it. They met obstacles. They tried to apply for it. They were rejected. Or and we have a CPA on the broadcast this evening. Or their CPA said, not for nothing. It's only 1% interest. The payments are very low, and the interest is tax deductible. So I, like the CPA may have said to them, their tax professional may have said to the small business owner, I like this interest because it helps me offset this other income you've got over here and lower your tax liability.
That's, though, we're not accountants, so.
That's not accounting advice.
We actually have, 0 credentials. I used to have a credential. You used to have a credential.
I had a license.
We used to be regulated the heck out of government. Okay. Now we're just super smart.
Cookie, you do not have to apologize. All you got to do, girlfriend, is compliment me on my hair. Okay. Joshua, is the SBA considering taking OIC, which is offer in compromise for EIDL? The answer is no. The SBA does not allow offer in compromise for a COVID-19 EIDL program, and there are no whisperings or anything of that sort anywhere that would even lead me to offer an opinion that maybe it's going to happen. I'm not one for magical thinking. It's not going to happen. And as your second question, Joshua, if so, is the write-off considered income? You'd have to consult with your accountant on that because we're not accountants, so I can't answer that question. Okay.
If you did have a question and we haven't answered it yet, you may want to put it back in the comments because we might have missed it.
Okay.
Oops, that was me. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you remember the part at the beginning of the broadcast where I said, I'll manage all the comments?
Yeah, and I did it again.
Okay. Chad, without sharing too much of Chad's story, Chad was a client during the pandemic, and there was some challenges for getting his loan approved to try it on his own, and he hired us. And through blood, sweat, and tears and brute force and ignorance, I got it approved for him. I don't remember, Chad, if we got you an initial loan and then an increase, or I forget what we did, but thank you for your most awesome comment here.
Yeah.
Chad, I used the guidebook.
He wants it in print.
It is going to be available in print.
Yeah.
What we're looking at are options to make the book available as a print-on-demand product. And the issue we've got is twofold. Number one, we haven't selected the platform we want to use for that process.
We've
but
had
also
some interviews.
Also, there are templates and SBA forms that are included in the guidebook that we want you to be able to access some of those because they're fillable PDFs.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of bonuses and extra downloads.
That's why I said we got big plans.
This isn't really.
Are you interrupting me?
Yes, I am. This isn't really a book, because everyone's like, wait, why is your book so expensive? It's not really a book. It is a guide. It is a course. It is everything you never wanted to know on how to manage your business through the eyes of a lender and the SBA. So it is not a book, because I know books are $27.99 or $14.99. We understand that. That's not the case. So I just want to put that out there, and I'm probably going to have to make a clip of this at 31 minutes because it is not a book. It just happens to be called a guidebook, but it is really a course that business owners need because we have had thousands of interactions with SBA and business owners, and we've seen the mistakes. We even have a project where we've collated 366 mistakes.
We're not talking about that tonight.
Why are you? Don't kick me under the table.
Okay, normally you kick me under the table.
It's too soon. All right, what's next?
Listen, the guidebook comes out of my brain. During the pandemic, and even once the program ended in May of 2022, we continued to do consulting. We still do it to this day, whether 1 hour phone calls with me that I offer advice and recommended strategies, or people who hire us for our flat fee consulting to manage different SBA processes. And often people say to me, "Oh my God, how did you get that done?" And I would love to tell you all that I'm some kind of superhero. I'm not. But I put the instructions in really simple to use format in the guidebook so that it would be easy for the average small business owner who does not deal with financing on a regular basis to have insight. Okay, so Ronnie. Is it true the sale of titled vehicles does not require a release of collateral? I think you're going to have to call the SBA for that one. But if your business relies on those vehicles as an asset, they're assets for the business. And the SBA's rule is if you're selling assets other than assets that you sell in the normal course of operations. Okay, and I'll explain that momentarily. But if these vehicles are an asset the way a printing press would be an asset for a printing company, or the way that forklifts would be an asset for a warehousing company, backhoes, dump trucks, and so forth would be assets for a construction company, tools, an asset for a construction company. If they are assets in that regard, then yes, you have to file a request for release of collateral. And you should be aware that SBA's form for release of collateral has a statement right in the middle of the form that says monetary consideration may be required for approval. So you may be required to pay down some or all of the loan. We talk about that in the guidebook. And in fact, that is getting an enhanced update in the new version that's coming up.
Yeah.
So if you buy the COVID-19 EIDL guidebook right now, we are currently offering and have been offering for the last 2 years free updates to that guidebook as I create new enhancements through December 31st of 2024. That's this year. If you didn't know what year it was, David DeYoung. I know you do. And congratulations again on your nuptials, David. But there's a big update coming to the guidebook very soon. And not only is it going to enhance the guidebook, like what I think supercharge the guidebook, but we're going to increase the price. Dramatic increase. Dramatic increase.
Yeah.
So get it now while it's hot. So Ronnie, I
nervy.
hope that answered your question.
Joshua had a question.
I'm going to come back to Joshua, but Ronnie, I hope that, so I talked about assets in the normal course of business. So normal course of business, you're having a little record shop, an audio electronics store, and you sell headphones. Okay. Well, these assets, because this is what you sell as part of your normal course of business, you don't need permission from the SBA to sell the assets that are in the normal course of business. But the shelving in your store that let's pretend your shelving has some kind of high-tech value to it, and it's worth something, and you're going to sell it because you're going to downsize the store or change your location. That's an asset you'd have to get permission to sell.
Yeah. Okay, you said no dead air, so
I was waiting for you to interrupt me again.
I'm not interrupting. I want Carlos. Carlos is sitting patiently in the green room to come on the show.
Swimming downstream. Who is swimming downstream? Is this somebody we know?
I don't know, but I love her comments. I love her.
Apparently,
I love her suggestions. I've done all of it.
The little bit I'm seeing that she's getting smashed during our show on Pinot Grigio, and we love that about you.
We want to hang out with you.
I am temporarily not drinking
green tea.
Alcohol. Linda is occasionally, but good for you, swimming.
I want to hang out with you, swimming. I want to. It would be swimmingly
Cookie,
to
really?
hang out with you.
Come on, Cookie. I thought you loved me. Kindle is a fantastic platform. Yeah, we're considering that, but we have some other ideas too. Kajabi, no.
We're considering all your suggestions, swimming
Joshua,
downstream.
We're going to sell our business, but the buyer does not want to assume our EIDL. Well, then the loan has to be paid off. Period. End of discussion.
Yeah.
The SBA.
Next question.
For those of you who don't know, hello, Hollis. For those of you who don't know, the SBA internally considers the COVID-19 EIDL to be a short-term working capital loan.
Tell us more about that, because it sounds counterintuitive since it's a 30-year loan.
Well, it's a 30-year loan because the SBA wanted to make the payments affordable. The longer the term, the low interest rate, you have affordable payments. But the SBA considers the loan to be a short-term working capital. So be on notice, all of you in our audience, and this is going into the guidebook revision, that as Joshua is asking here, if the buyer is going to not want to assume the EIDL, assuming they're even eligible or qualified, because there's a whole assumption process, which again, on the assumption process, also the SBA may require monetary consideration. So you should definitely believe that they're going to require the loan to be paid down in part or possibly in full. For further detail, either buy the guidebook or book a 1-hour call with me.
Yeah.
Okay. Junior, welcome to our broadcast this evening. Does the EIDL forgiveness still on the table? We're going to get to that. But folks, if you have comments or a question about forgiveness, I'm going to ask you to refrain because you don't want to see the top of my head explode.
No, but we have a video for that.
We have a video coming up. Well, you'll see that in a moment, Junior, and that should satisfy your question.
I mean, satisfy you or scare you.
Swearworks. What a cool name.
Yeah.
Why does SBA loan repayment not benefit my personal credit? But if I stop paying the business loan, it can ruin my personal credit. I don't know the answer to that. And credit is one of my areas of very special expertise. Well, I do know the answer as to why it does not benefit your personal credit, because it's a business loan. But until recently, I was of the opinion that SBA was not reporting. But then we had a client whose loan was sent to U.S. Treasury for debt collection. We helped her to claw the loan back, and we got her approved as a restaurant in Los Angeles, and we got her approved for hardship accommodation. And she shared with me copies of her credit report, and it showed that the default was on there. But in my opinion, I said this to her at the time, I don't know. I don't believe that SBA put it there. Because she had been contacted by a private collection agency. The U.S. Treasury had basically given her loan to a private collection agency, and I think the collection agency put that I didn't run one of our own credit reports. The credit reports we run here at Aurora Consulting are real credit reports, not that crap that you get on your iPhones. All that stuff is total crap. You're wasting your time if you're living your life reading those credit reports and living by guidance with those things. They're complete crap. Did I say they're crap? They're total crap. We run real credit reports here, just like I used in the mortgage business. And I didn't run her credit report. Maybe I'll call her up and ask her if I can do it one day, and we won't charge her for the report so that I can see how that was reported. But happily, she told me about 90, 120 days after her loan was returned to SBA for regular servicing under the hardship program, the delinquent debt was removed from her credit report.
Okay. Well, what I think we should do is share your insights as to the opinion on forgiveness and then bring Carlos in. Am I all? Oh, I know that's the B-roll, but I think since forgiveness has already come up, you said to interrupt you if forgiveness comes up, to play the video on forgiveness, and then we bring Carlos in.
That is not the format, so I'm pointing here, okay?
Okay, you want to do that one?
That's how we're going to do it.
All right, and then we're going to talk to Carlos.
We're going to play something for you, which we hope you find fun and interesting, and if you want to make fun of me, that's okay. But
wait, then
we will be back here with the live broadcast.
It's only a minute and a half, so don't go anywhere. And Carlos is very insightful. He's been doing this for 30 years on how to help businesses secure financing, even with an EIDL loan.
Okay.
Don't you hate when that happens? You walk up to your car, you press the button, and the battery's dying. Oh, Lord. Okay, so I have to change a battery. I don't know how to change a battery in the fob. We just got this car. Oh, instruction manual. So I'm going to read the instructions. I'm going to learn in the instructions how to change the battery. Isn't that what you do when you want to get something done? You read the instructions? Well, that's what our SBA COVID-19 EIDL guidebook is. Think of it as an instruction manual for the loan you took during the pandemic, which you're going to have for another 26 or 27 years, depending upon when you got the loan. And you're going to need to interact with the SBA at some point, whether you're changing ownership, selling assets, bringing in investors, getting a loan, other financing, closing the business, any number of things, even something as simple as changing the address of the business. Holy cow. Or you want to prepay the loan? You want to pay it off early? You can't just go ahead and send in a check. There's a procedure for that because SBA makes everything complicated. But as you can see, I read the instructions and I was able to change the battery. Get our SBA COVID-19 EIDL guidebook so you can change the battery. So you can, do that thing with the SBA you need to do when you need it. It'll be available. Click on the link in the description. The guidebook's available. All right, back to the live broadcast. This is getting...
Yes, we could not get any more ridiculous.
We like being ridiculous sometimes, but you know what's not ridiculous is how you're going to ask us questions.
Well, this is just a little how-to guide so you can get the most out of a question you might have. The first thing is making sure that the question is in its entirety in one comment.
Very important, yeah.
Not a series of comments that we have to track as we're live.
Well, we can't track them. That's the point, right?
Yeah, and it kind of wastes a little bit of time where other people could be having a question answered. Almost trying to figure out what your question is.
You okay?
Yeah.
Be specific also. Don't give us vague. But what about try to be as specific as possible. We know it's a limited space in the comment. And also please understand we're not going to get to every question if it's really busy. And we're hoping when we're recording this right now, which is a couple of days before the broadcast, we're hoping it's going to be really busy. If it's not busy, we'll answer all the questions. But if it's really busy, we might not get to all the questions.
I just wish it was St. Patrick's Day because this boa you have is rocking. If it was St. Patrick's.
All right, back to the broadcast.
Oh, God. Why do we do this? All right, here we go.
We're back. Thank you for...
I think it's back.
We're back. And the noise is gone.
Well, it is. It's...
All right, well, good.
We're back. We're back.
Okay, thank you all for your patience. And by the way, I love all the awesome assistance comments. Thank you. That's all a level of commitment on your part.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys sticking around too. Holy cow!
Next time we'll have Chad Eckert. We'll have Chad Eckert here to work the front of house board.
This is it's not. I mean, and Mercury went direct. We don't have that as an excuse. This is what happens when you go live.
Okay. Let's go back a bit. I see some other questions I want to get to, but real quick, I want to finish up an Associated Press article. Find it, read it. She talks about business struggling with payments.
Survivor debt.
But again, the SBA offers a program to assist you with that. But the other thing she mentions in the article is debt and how borrowers are finding it difficult to get other kinds of financing because they have a COVID-19 EIDL. Well, as you all know, if you know me, I've got an opinion on that. And number one, the reason they probably can't get approved is because they're writing off all their expenses against income, and they're showing very little income on the bottom line. And, if you're not showing enough income on the bottom line, you're not going to qualify for debt, right?
Yeah,
you can't have your cake and eat it too.
We found that out the hard way with folks.
And I said this to people in my mortgage career, 30 years in the mortgage business, when I had somebody who was self-employed. And I said, listen, I see that you're making, $200,000 a year, but you're showing $12,000 net income, $1,000 a month. I'm not going to give you a mortgage, so come and see me in 2 years in the mortgage business. And when you and your accountant figure out how to stop writing off your expenses. So that's my first aspect of understanding Russian interference. Yeah, Antonio, I'm with you. But so the other thing is, as we are experiencing right now with a client who happens to be on this broadcast, who will be remain unnamed, we're working on a change of ownership and a subordination for that client. And the client's lender is an SBA approved direct lender, and they approved the loan for the buyout, change of ownership, and then promptly torpedoed the entire process through bad paperwork, incompetence, and frankly, just not paying attention to the unique nature of the COVID-19 EIDL program and not communicating with the SBA in a way that would have made this process much smoother for our client and unnecessarily hiring us had the lender done. So I have of the opinion that not only are small businesses struggling to get financing because they're writing off all their expenses and not showing enough income, but secondarily, if they are making enough income, they can find reasonable financing. The lender doesn't know how to do or refuses to deal with the subordination. The lender doesn't want to be in a second position or doesn't know how to get into a second position behind the COVID-19 EIDL, especially when the lender's attorneys read the loan agreement and all of the somewhat onerous restrictions on the business. The lender might say, oh, heck no. That's my opinion of the landscape. And again, find the article. Can we try to bring Carlos in again to our broadcast?
No, he's not here.
He's not here.
No,
he left altogether?
He did. He,
you know, Carlos, I was only kidding when I said to people say it's Carlos.
He needs to get a mic. He needs to get a proper mic, especially if we're going to do more podcasts. What happens if business took an
EIDL, goes out of business, has no future? What you must do, SwearWorks, is contact the SBA. They have a procedure for closing your business. There are forms. So as I say to everyone,
this is a great question.
If you have a basic protocol about your business, whether you're changing your physical address, changing your mailing address, closing your business, filing bankruptcy, selling assets, change of ownership, bringing in investors, getting financing, SBA is going to have a procedure for it, and there's going to be paperwork involved.
Yes, there's going to be paperwork.
And all of that's in the guidebook, by the way.
Yeah.
And you can always book a call.
I mean, you could try it yourself and try to manage the process, but you know, one of the clients that hired us, he originally
Thank you, Lisa.
He originally had a 1-hour call and said, I got it. No problem. I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Until
Thanks for
the lender
call.
screwed it up.
And then the lender screwed it up, and then he was back.
And
so
as of today, the lender is still screwing it up.
He's still screwing it up.
I hope I fixed it. Thank you, Lisa Air Force, for your compliment. The feathers that you saw, the feather boas were sent to us by a client who used our guidebook to have their business, their SBA COVID-19 EIDL, brought back from collections at U.S. Treasury and enrolled in SBA's hardship accommodation program. He wrote us a lovely email and a review on our Google Business Review page about how the guidebook's instructions were easy to follow, and he followed instructions exactly as I laid them out, and he had his approval. And he said, you saved the business, and you saved families, and you saved livelihoods with that. And we have an office. this is our home, but we have an office and we don't go there very often. So one day we went to the office and there's a giant box in front of our door, and we open it up, and inside was feather boas and angel wings, which you will see later in the broadcast. The company makes all that stuff for like Lady Gaga and Elton John.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So we're very honored. And I'm not sure if he's on participant in the broadcast tonight, but
So
Lisa,
Carlos
thank you for the
is
compliment.
back. I don't want to screw up anything.
Okay.
Okay. So should we try Carlos again? And if it's bad again,
If it's bad again, I'm just going to disconnect our microphones and we'll go with just the iPad microphone. I just want to answer Pavel's question. If I reduce payments, does it mean I'm delinquent? Yes, that's what it means.
Yes.
Okay, so when it comes to getting other types of federal financing, if you default on a federal debt, any type of federal debt, if you got a mortgage that was insured by the Federal Housing Administration under the Department of Housing and Urban Development on your personal house, and you want to get an SBA loan, or vice versa, if you have defaulted on the one, you will not be able to participate in getting the other one in most all cases. So, Pavel, I recommend you call the SBA and ask them how to get enrolled in hardship accommodation or for hardship accommodation.
Oh, okay.
Or buy our guidebook and follow, or better yet, call the SBA, have them send you the application, send in an email, ask them the application, and get our guidebook. I'm sorry, you're right.
Our guidebook.
You're right. Never call the SBA. Disregard that.
Our guidebook
Don't ever call the
includes
SBA.
Extensive hardship instructions. It's a new chapter we added in May or June, I think. So.
Well, Ronnie, thank you for that comeback. I have an email stating release of collateral was denied because it is not required on the sale of title vehicles. Even I will admit I was wrong.
That's very rare. Let's have a moment of silence.
Let's not
for this moment. Let's have a moment of silence.
Have Carlos. Okay.
Trevor was wrong. I'm gonna have to get that on video and make it its own.
Chad, you heard me say that, right? David,
its own little
Toshiba,
short.
you heard me say that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just scrolling to see if there's any other questions. Then I'm going to bring Carlos in. The article Toshiba is on the Associated Press website. Okay, and almost done. Just scrolling. Okay. Oh, average. Hold on. Antonio, I cannot answer that question. I don't even know how to answer that question. Yes, Lisa. Well, the letter was an email, and in fact, his review is on our Google Business profile page, which so far we have, what are we at, 285 reviews?
286.
286, of which most all are 5-star reviews.
We have 2 4-stars and 1 1-star.
The 1 1-star is the best.
That's like a little bit
it's
of
our favorite review, actually.
Yeah, it's quite the
Back
entertainment.
during the pandemic, we were doing free phone calls, 15-minute
We're not
going
to get into it.
And
we're not going to get into it.
We tried to accommodate this person.
Let's not go back in
by
the
moving
past.
her phone call up, and she got annoyed with us. So I wrote back in response to her review. I said, so let me get this straight. You're giving us a 1-star review for a free phone call we were offering for free advice when we tried to make it even faster for you. Instead of you having to wait 2 weeks, we moved it 2 weeks earlier, and you're complaining about that. That's why we love that review.
Svetlana!
Pavel, yes, if you get hardship accommodation, you will not be in default, but understand the interest on your loan continues to accrue during the hardship period, which means that it will either become a balloon payment at the end of the loan term, or, well, we don't know exactly what SBA is going to do.
This is where I want to interrupt, and if you have any
Hello,
thoughts.
Svetlana.
If you have any thoughts on this, I would love to know what your prediction is. And by the way, even though Trevor admitted today that he was wrong and Chad confirms,
don't get used to
it's the second time, his predictions of various aspects and nuances of the EIDL program have been 100% correct. So this is one thing I want to put out there for people who are seeking hardship, applying for hardship, are either delinquent in their payments or having reduced payments. I don't think we know how SBA is going to treat the accounts that have reduced payments and are not current. We did a video on this where,
Well, hang on a second. When you say not current, just to be clear, when you are approved for hardship accommodation, if you look at your My SBA portal, it's going to say status as dispersed current. And in my opinion, and this is what Linda's alluding to here, in my opinion, that doesn't mean that your loan is actually really current.
Yeah.
I say this as a lender, right? I was a lender for 30 years in the mortgage business, and on this side, on the credit side, the lending side, we look at somebody who fell behind on payments differently than people who make their payments all the time, even if that person catches up. And SBA made a statement to the Wall Street Journal a few months back about, quote unquote, and I'm just paraphrasing the quote, taking over the offset program from the U.S. Treasury. You see, it was reported by everybody that the SBA brought the loans back from Treasury, and everybody out here in the world was my loan's not in collection, no 30% penalty, no private collection agencies, and so on. But in my opinion, what the SBA really did was the Treasury was overwhelmed, because we heard from Treasury agents how they were like, I've been here 20 years, I've never seen anything like this. You know, the SBA sent 860,000 loans to collections at Treasury. And I think the SBA just agreed with Treasury that SBA would manage it. But I believe the SBA may internally consider all of those loans still technically in default. And SBA made another comment in a letter to Congress where there is a particular congressman from Texas who keeps demanding, even though the math and the federal regulations do not support his position, I'm just going to say it, he's an idiot, because his position is completely wrong. His position is that the SBA should take defaulted loans and sell them off to private collection agencies. But federal regulations require that if the SBA does that, the United States government is not allowed to take a haircut. And private collection agencies are not going to buy those loans, defaulted loans, at full face value. So if the SBA wants to sell, let's say, $1 billion worth of, quote, defaulted COVID-19 EIDLs, the collection agency is going to say, yeah, we're not giving you $1 billion. We'll give you, probably 30 cents on the dollar, if that much, if it's that rich. But the federal government, there's regulations. It's law.
Yeah.
The government's not allowed to take a haircut, a discount. So therefore, the government, and the SBA said this to this congressman, what you propose us to do, the government would have to fund here to the SBA the difference. So the Congress would have to write a check, right? But in the same letter, the SBA also says, but we are looking at this as a possibility for the future. Okay. SwearWorks, how do you get a copy? You send a FOIA request. We have a guidebook which you can purchase.
I put it in the comments right below.
It's right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Carlos.
We should try Carlos.
¿Dónde estás, señor?
All right, hold on.
¿Por qué no está aquí? Está
Okay.
esperando. Okay, so I figured out how to solve this problem for tonight, and I'll figure out a better solution for next month's broadcast, which is October 2nd, the first Wednesday of every month. We will be doing this live Q&A. So Linda's going to mute Carlos while we're speaking, and then when Carlos speaks, I'm going to mute us with my fancy-dancy mixing board. Carlos, tell us what you do, and how that helps folks with a COVID-19 EIDL who are looking for financing.
Yep. So the fact that you had to mute yourselves is great, because from what I gather, you cannot interrupt me. So
we have a script.
Yeah. So this is great. I like this. Almost as if I would have done it on purpose. So look, I can tell you what I do, and I will get to that. I want to just basically paint for you guys the whole situation, and you guys can probably imagine it, but it's very, very big picture. As you know, the SBA awarded, I think it was 4 million loans or something like that. It was a huge amount of money. And now a big chunk of those are in default. And probably, I think 30% in default, and probably another 30%, if you think about it, are stressed, not yet in default. I want to add a little bit to what you said before, and you were saying that the SBA will not give other loans to people that are in default. That is not only correct, but it gets worse because not only the SBA will not give you more money, but any run-of-the-mill bank will not do so either. So that is a big problem. To the audience, some people asked if we're mentioning Chapter 11. That is not quite a solution either, simply because if you borrowed more than $200,000, and many have, you have to give your personal guarantee. So it's not an easy solution. As you correctly mentioned, Trevor, a personal bankruptcy will have to go together with the business bankruptcy. The other option is selling the company or selling equity in the company to raise money. That means selling from weakness, and obviously not something I would recommend. Something that I would need to research, another issue is, and don't quote me on this, I'm not an attorney, but one issue that needs to be researched a little bit is that I heard somewhere that the government doesn't need to go to court to get a judgment to collect. It can garnish assets or can garnish income otherwise coming to the company. So don't quote me, put a question mark beside that one. I am not 100% sure. But what I can tell you is if the loan defaults, the EIDL defaults, once you start adding up the penalties, sometimes as high as 30%, you are in what I called MCA, merchant cash advance territory. It becomes crazy expensive. So, Trevor, you asked what we do, and I've been thinking a little bit about that question. And yes, we give money, and we can discuss how we give money and so on and so forth. But I was saying, in essence, what do we do? And I think the most important thing that we bring to the table, obviously money, but aside from money, what do we bring? And I think two key issues. One of them is time, meaning that people that use our services have the benefit of having a time to negotiate and to work, in this case with you guys, to avoid being referred to Treasury. That is incredibly important, because once you've been referred, you're in a totally different category, and it becomes much more complex and expensive. So gaining time is very important. The other thing that we bring to the table, and I'm going to mention an anecdote I think I shared with you offline some time ago. I was visiting a client, a recent client, and I was asking her how it was working out for her and so on and so forth. And she said, wonderful, money is great, but the most important thing that I got from Capital Solutions is what I think about when I get into the shower. And I go like, oh my God, what are you talking about? And I said, would you mind explaining? And she says, yes. When I get into the shower, it used to be that I was all concerned, how am I going to make payroll? And, my focus was, how am I going to make payroll on Friday? Once we became involved, she says, because she has cash flow certainty, underlying that phrase, making payroll on Friday and paying vendors is no longer an issue. And therefore, what she says her biggest benefit was being able to focus her time and her skills in growing the business and servicing clients. And, instead of looking immediately down here, how am I going to operate next week? She could plan ahead. And she says, when you change your focus just a little bit and you project that over time, it makes a huge difference. So again, that's what we bring to the table.
Okay.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank
Hold
you.
on, you get a round of applause for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Going back real quick, U.S. Treasury, if SBA sends or has sent your loan there already or previously, two things: Treasury automatically adds a 30% penalty at the top. The number is 30%. It's non-negotiable. Number two, the government will immediately seek to garnish, and this is going back to what you said about not going to court. The government immediately seeks to garnish and does garnish any government payments.
That's right.
So if you're getting Social Security, tax refund, or as we had during the U.S. Treasury consulting period of the early part of this year, we had several clients who were government contractors, and they or doctors' offices receiving payments through Medicaid, Medicare, and so their payments were being garnished in tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, a week.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's it. Now, what Carlos's firm does is comes in and, as he said, he helps you get the moment to breathe and focus on what you need to focus on
to make money.
And what is unique and refreshing about Carlos and his ability to assist you is that, as I mentioned a moment ago in discussing the Associated Press article, discussing the landscape of lending, and also discussing our current client who has an SBA approved lender who has really kind of screwed up the ball of wax with a change of ownership and subordination. The COVID-19 EIDL program is so unique. And as I said at the top of our broadcast, the SBA internally considers these loans to be short-term working capital. And the fact that they're a 30-year term is only for the purpose of providing to you, the business owner, a low affordable payment. But essentially, the SBA expects to get repaid very quickly on these. Like if you're selling assets, if you're buying out a partner, if you are closing your business, any number of things, if there's money on the table, the SBA says, hand it over.
That's right.
All of it to pay off the loan, and then we'll let you move on to the other things. But a lot of lenders see that and they have a meltdown because the lender, no lender on planet Earth wants to be in a position where their lien doesn't have some sense of protection, right? But Carlos's firm has figured out, and okay, without getting too geekish, because Carlos and I promised Linda we would not go. But I will tell you, the first call I had with Carlos a couple of weeks back, I don't know, we were on the phone for like an hour or something, and Linda's in the next room. She goes, "Oh my God, what the hell were you two talking about?" Because we totally went finance nerd, and we were arguing about things like UCC liens and placements and agency, and it was fun.
Legit conversations.
So we're not going to put you all to sleep tonight with that broadcast. But Linda has posted the podcast right here that she did an awesome interview
with Carlos.
And I stayed off of that specifically because he and I agreed that we would totally go geek. And Linda's an excellent interviewer.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's not such a good interrupter tonight because she's refusing to follow my script. And I think it's time for me to lose the tie. How does the tie look?
The tie
I haven't worn a tie since 2020, Carlos. Okay.
All right.
So, Carlos, somebody has a question for you. Puff City 401. If I'm correct, you guys only give loans to B2B type businesses, not to restaurant bar. Go.
So, two answers to that question. First of all, we don't give loans. You took your tie off. Okay. Awesome. Yes. So you're correct in with regards to the B2B. We only do B2B. You are correct. What is not technically correct, and again, I don't want to become too geeky, ours is not a loan. So if we're talking accounting, what we're doing in essence is we're giving you money today for receivables that will be collected 45, 60 days. So you have, if you look at your aging report, you have I don't know, 100, 200, $300,000 in receivables. You got payables, you got payroll on Friday, and you got to pay vendors. If you don't pay them, they don't deliver, et cetera, et cetera. You could use the funds in your aging. But the problem is that you cannot go to your customers and say, pay me today. You could, but they will require a pretty steep discount. And the problem with that, again, I don't mean to get too geeky. The problem in going to your customers and offering them a discount if they pay faster is that, number one, you cannot control it. In other words, you don't know if they're going to accept it or not, and therefore you don't have that cash flow certainty. Secondly, if you say, okay, I'm going to offer them a steeper discount so they pay me fast, well, that's great. They're going to pay you fast, but what are you going to do when you don't need it anymore? Once you gave candy to that child, they're going to expect it going forward. So it's going to be very, very difficult, and they already assume that they earned that discount, and you'll have to keep it forever. So I don't recommend going that route. When you use our services, again, assuming you're a B2B, you can get funding for your receivables on an as-needed basis, meaning there might be times that you don't need it, times when you do need it, and you control that. But the other interesting thing that Trevor was suggesting a second ago is that we can do this from what is called a junior position, meaning you're going to have a UCC filing from, let's say, your line of credit. Then you're going to have, for example, the SBA, et cetera, et cetera. Theoretically, if you need more working capital, you're going to go to a bank. They're going to run a UCC search, and they're going to say, you're totally committed already. You got 5 secured creditors ahead of us. There's no way we can give you any more money. We don't have a problem with that. We will fund you from a junior position. And most importantly, as we said before, make sure that you have the time and the maneuvering room to be able to stay out of default with the SBA and grow your business. Another point that I want to make very quickly is the following. There are many loan documents, and Trevor knows this very closely because he worked with banks. Many loan documents with banks say that if one of the covenants says that if you default with the government, and SBA is part of the government, if you default with any government entity, you automatically default with the bank loan, which means that if you're behind with your EIDL, you get referred. Guess what? Your bank will find out about it, and you just defaulted with them as well. So again, as we just said with Trevor, if you can stay out of default with the EIDL, you're saving yourself a lot of headaches.
Thank you, Carlos. So you get applause for that also. Okay, thank you. We have a question. If we borrowed less than $200,000, if your COVID-19 EIDL is less than $200,000, unless you are a sole proprietor or an independent contractor, there's no personal guarantee.
That's correct.
And you can see that in your loan agreement. Okay, so I think what we want to do is take a very short break.
Oh, yes. What am I doing?
Forgiveness.
Okay.
Okay.
Stand by.
She's got one job.
One job.
She has one job.
And here it comes. Here it comes. Wait, is it coming?
At least
it's coming.
twice a week, someone somewhere comments on one of our YouTube videos or sends us an email and says, what about forgiveness? The COVID-19 EIDL loans should be forgiven. Do you think they're going to be forgiven? When is forgiveness going to happen? If you've been a subscriber to our channel for a while, and even going back to during the pandemic when those questions came up, my professional opinion as a retired banker who specialized in government lending for 30 years, as an expert now with the COVID-19 EIDL program, having processed thousands of interactions with the SBA, and I live this program every day of the week, and I've done the research. My opinion is no, these loans will never be forgiven. Very short explanation, then we're going to get back to the live broadcast. Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans, Louisiana, massive devastation, homes and businesses. The SBA at the time had a geographical cap on how much they could infuse of funds for that program, the Natural Disaster Loan Program, into any given area. It was too low to help people with the massive devastation. The SBA goes to the Congress and the White House at the time and says, we need you to expand our cap, lift our limit so we can help these American taxpayers. And after a lot of political wrangling back and forth between a Republican-controlled Congress and a Republican-controlled White House under President Bush, they came back to the SBA and said, you got it. We will allow you to raise that limit so that when devastation wipes out a geographic area of the United States through a natural disaster, you as the SBA can lend the money you need to help businesses, homeowners, and renters recover. With one proviso. These loans can never be forgiven again. Yes, the politicians did that to you. So if they did that once, why do you think with 4 million loans that were made during the pandemic that the politicians have an appetite for making forgiveness a thing for you? One other element, TARP. That's the rescue program that saved Wall Street after the global mortgage meltdown. The government stepped in and funded those banks, funded those Wall Street firms, saved their bacon. But guess what? Those firms and those banks paid the United States government back with interest. If the government is not going to give Wall Street free money, why do you think they're going to give the small business owner, that's you, free money in terms of forgiveness when A, they already gave you forgiveness under the Paycheck Protection Program loan, and B, they really don't support you, the small business owners, because if they did, they would take care of the Small Business Administration the way it needs to be properly cared for so the SBA can help you. We have a download about forgiveness, so click on the link in the description. And just as a reminder, if you have questions for tonight's live broadcast, please be very specific with your question, and please type your question into one comment box. Please don't break it up into multiple comments. We can't track them. We may not get to every question tonight, and we apologize for that. You can always email us at curious@auroraconsulting.biz. And now, back to Linda Ray and, me.
Okay, we are.
I want to give myself applause.
It was an excellent video.
Thank you.
It's not what people want to hear, but unfortunately, it's,
I is who I is.
We just don't
have my professional opinions.
We just don't think it's a plan to wait or hope for that. And we get this question weekly from multiple people, and they usually ask, what do you think about it? And that's what we think about it. That video will make its way as a standalone so that we have it as a reference. If anybody asks us about it, that's where we go to for that. And thank you for that SwearWorks clear explanation.
We're doing tonight's live question and answer session, and we're going to do it again on Wednesday, October 2nd, same time. Our plan is to do this once a month on the first Wednesday of every month.
Yes.
But
I'm interrupting you. So this is the segment of the program that we share with you a couple of offers that we've never done before. First, we are discounting our guidebook, and it'll be for a limited time only. You can see the banner there. There's a code. The link is in the description, but this is what we've never done before. We are going to add for free our beacon guide for business financing application fundamentals. It's a big, boring title, but it has everything in there if you are looking for financing outside of the EIDL, or just how to go about securing funding with a lender, to anticipate their underwriting approach and their questions and requirements and all the conditions and how conditions have babies. Conditions beget conditions.
That's
And
my phrase. From
it's
the
your
mortgage
phrase
business.
from the mortgage business. That's
Yeah.
right. So we have that application, that Beacon Guide, was birthed out of the roadmap to reconsideration that we had during the pandemic for people who were getting declined on their EIDL, their original application, and the increase modification. We wrote, Trevor wrote it and I edited it, but we did the roadmap to reconsideration and we repurposed it into a guidebook for just general how to approach funding. So anyway, the 2-hour live Q&A.
Better. Okay, thank you.
Okay. The 2-hour live
Thank you.
Q&A is going to be set for September 25th, and it's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern time. But this is what it's about. It's 2 hours. It's limited to 10 people so that everybody could have a chance to speak with Trevor and share their question and talk through their scenario.
Do you see the look of terror on my face?
Yes.
This was her idea. And I was like, wait, you want me to do what?
Well, a 1-hour phone call is $325. And I said, well, why don't we do a special live Q&A and it's only $247
And listen,
for the 2 hours.
If you all sign up by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, I will throw in Brown Eyed Girl on guitar during the performance.
So this
during
is
the thing. I just want to point out the comment from our new friend Lisa, Air Force vet. So why would not a business buy the guidebook, especially if the business could eventually write off that expense?
Yeah.
Okay, so back in my mortgage career, I used to do homebuyers seminars about the FHA government program, and I did a lot of business in Harlem, in New York City, and I loved going to the Baptist churches to do seminars because when you say something like that, so why would not a business buy the guidebook, especially the business could eventually write off? I love the whole audience to go,
yeah, exactly.
can I get a witness?
Well, the thing is, there's two ways.
fun.
There's 2 ways to invest in your
It's true.
business. If your business has an EIDL, there's 2 ways to do it. You can jump on this Q&A for the 2 hours and be part of a small group of people trying to figure this out for yourself, for your business with the EIDL for $247. Or you can get the guidebook included and the 2 hours for $747. The guidebook is usually $675. But also don't forget, if you buy the guidebook, you also get the business fundamentals for financing. So there's a lot going on there. You know, most of we're not like these, we're not these smooth operators about selling stuff. We usually,
Well, as you can tell by the audio problems we have tonight, we're definitely not smooth operators.
we do a lot of video. We share a lot of intel. We give some breaking news kind of stuff. We do a lot of live Q&As, and you know, but we just share it with you. If you want to partake, if you want to invest in your business, so you're not scrambling around, so you can sleep at night, we have resources. We have services and we have products. The products will be around for a while. But the other thing about this is too often we hear from business owners and the house is burning down. It's too late, or it's past the point of a smooth transition for a smooth transaction. So we try to get ahead of this so that you could be smarter than the person who is that the other, like whether it's the direct, approved SBA lender who screwed up a deal, or what, you get, sometimes there are SBA reps that aren't fantastic, and we've dealt with them and they are very they don't care about stuff. We have had some amazing SBA reps and experiences, but it's a luck of the draw. So you need resources because there's not a lot of people out there that have the direct experience with SBA, with the EIDL, with the COVID-19 EIDL. So that's the pitch, and that's it.
If you want to be successful in an interaction with the SBA, and you will need to interact with them for any number of things.
Ow,
for any number of things, you will need to interact with them. Yes, I just kicked Linda under the table.
Twice.
if you do need, and you will need to, for anything simple, as simple even as changing the physical address of the business, relocating, selling assets, whatever it is. And I said this to people during the pandemic, if you want to be successful with a government agency for something that appears complicated and might be complicated, you need to be prepared. And that's what the guidebook does. It gives you the opportunity to prepare before you send that email to the SBA to say, hey, I'd like hardship accommodation, or I'm selling my business, or, you know, want to sell titled vehicles. That's the purpose of the guidebook.
Yeah.
So we're just going to give it another moment. If you have any other questions.
Well, SwearWorks. Ow.
Well, if you have any other questions, and we'd be happy to answer those. SwearWorks, I'm not really sure how to answer that question yet. So that's why I haven't answered. This is why I keep kicking Linda under the table.
Okay.
I just like the Chad Eckert comment. Perfect. It's just one of my favorite words.
When you share something that you're offering, there are going to be questions. So the thing that if you have questions and we're not answering it,
let's put it this way.
Just email.
The way that I
me.
will approach the live question and answer session remains to be seen, because it's the first time we're offering it.
Yeah.
And we haven't had anybody sign up because we're just presenting it for the first time tonight.
Here. Yeah.
And so if we get the interest, and if 10 people sign up and they pay the fee, then I will determine how I will approach that. Certainly, if you're paying for the live question and answer session, I will endeavor to give you the kind of authority that I give on a 1-hour paid phone call.
Yes, exactly.
Right? But please do understand, ultimately, what we want you to do is buy the guidebook. That's why we're here tonight. That's why we'll be back.
That's why it keeps hitting
on
me
October 2nd, same time.
And the other reason why I thought this could be a good idea is that, you know, and limited to 10, there are people who are dealing with something that might be something you have to deal with. So if you're armed with information on various types of scenarios that a business owner has to go through, then this is sort of through osmosis, will you have 10 examples of things to, you know, that you might have to go through because somebody's going through it. If somebody's going through something, it's a possibility that you might have to go through it too.
Yeah. So I think that is why I didn't answer SwearWorks' question, because I guess I'm a details person. So on that call, you know, understand there's going to be other people. So I can't have a non-disclosure agreement with you. You know, if you hire us, whether it's for our 1-hour consulting call or you hire us for our flat fee consulting services, we have an NDA that's built into our agreements, and we honor that. And so I don't want to be sharing unique information on a live video with other business owners about your business. Plus, there's a level of nuance to certain questions that I may not be able to answer in that live question and answer. That's why I wasn't trying to be ambiguous or vague intentionally, because, you know, Linda yelled at me. She's like, it's totally fair that people go ask her. That's why I kicked you under the table. So if you have any other questions about the COVID-19 EIDL program, about SBA natural disaster loan programs, about PPP loans or forgiveness, now's your chance in the last couple of minutes of our broadcast.
Yeah.
To fire away.
I'm going to put the links to the two choices for the live Q&A for September 25th. I'm going to put that in the description.
Antonio, if you look at the email I sent to you last week that's titled "How Can We Help?" That email describes to you the services we offer and the fees for each.
Yeah.
And if you want to book a call, you can visit our website, auroraconsulting.biz, and you get my brain for an hour on the call. I want to share with you a compliment from a CPA in Texas whose name is Pam. Pam did a 1-hour phone call with me about a year ago. At the time, our guidebook was on version number 3. I think we're on version 4 or 5 right now. And she purchased the guidebook after our phone call. So she's a CPA. She said that she was in her 70s. She's owned multiple businesses in her life, and has counseled small business owners in many, many situations with financing, especially with SBA loans, and her businesses had SBA loans. And she wrote the most beautiful review on our Google page about our guidebook. And she basically said, she called it the most comprehensive guidebook about the SBA program she had ever seen, ever in her life. And that every banker in the United States should read that guidebook, should buy it and read it. And sadly, if our client who was doing the loan for subordination and change of ownership buyout, if his banker had read that guidebook, that client probably wouldn't have had to hire us. I love this question because we mentioned earlier, I said there's no chapter in the guidebook about my career in the mortgage business. I never had a passion for accounting and financing, but in my 20s, so I'm an immigrant to the United States. I'm a naturalized citizen. I was born in England. I came from London. I came on a boat a long time ago. I had a green card. My father was Scottish. My mother was Irish, and I'm confused. Grew up in Queens, and we didn't have a lot of money, so I wanted to learn what I needed to learn. So that's how I got my passion. And I got into the mortgage business so I could learn how to buy my first house and put my parents in their first house. And that started me on my journey. So thanks for asking that question. And I see Linda's hammering away at comments, even though tonight we agreed that Trevor was going to manage comments. All right, so if there's no other questions, I think we're going to call it a night.
But the code is in the comments. The code that's in the comments. I've just put up in the banner. And I will put the code in the description as well. But that will be deleted. And so get it while you can. And I haven't decided how long I'm going to keep it open. It's not going to be this price again. $597 it's $675 right now. And again, you can get more.
I'm having a complete meltdown that it's that cheap.
Well, I made an executive decision. So there you go.
I told you it's okay. You got it. You got it.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for
Sorry
tuning
for
in.
all the tech stuff.
By the way, one last word.
If you watch the replay, I'm going to try to edit out all that.
Can I mute you right now?
No.
Yeah, one last thing.
Yeah.
Lots of folks, as recently as today, call Linda my wife.
Oh my gosh.
She's not my wife, but she is the best thing that ever happened.
We do live together, so there's that.
She's my
and
best
we
friend.
have
She's
lived
my
to tell the
family.
tale.
She's everything. By the way, I'm still talking to my microphone, forgetting that we disconnected it because of the noise.
Oh, that's right. It's not even our regular mics.
I'm going to blame StreamYard because I know my tech over here is aces. And we're going to have Chad Eckert consult with us on the next broadcast. October 2nd, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time.
Thanks.
First Wednesday of every month. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next month.
See you next month.
Wear your Halloween costume.
Ciao, ciao. Stay safe and stream. That was supposed to be your job.